Welcome back to another video. I'm Tier 1 Collections. Today in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how I turned $5,000 into about $15K in one weekend grading and selling Pokemon cards.
I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Morant. Need a triple-double. Told him check the stats.
Alright, here we are on my little spreadsheet from the weekend that I made this big buy. I get a lot of comments almost every single day asking what I'm buying all over the place or where I'm buying it. So this was at one single card shop. I was in town for a wedding, so I just went over to this card shop and I spent $5,300. It was actually just under that. It was like 27, but with shipping to PSA and everything like that, I just calculated 53. I just nice round number. So these are the things that I bought. As you can see here, there's some bigger cards. We bought Magikarp and Wailord, which ended up getting a 10. I don't know the exact prices of everything, though. For this one, this was definitely the second most expensive raw card. This one I ended up getting for $456. And then the Ray down here was about $600 as well. The Leafeon was expensive. Blaziken was I think $350. So some of these were more expensive. This was also before the Bubble Mew boom. So some of these cards have changed in price because this happened around July 4th is when I bought this card. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth here. So overall, I divvied up this buy from the entire weekend into 4 submissions. As you can see, they're color coded. The light blue up at the top was regular. The green was value max. The red was value plus, and then the yellow down here was in a bulk sub. So if you just saw the bulk sub, all of these have been PSA returns on my channel so far. The big thing with like in the green one, you'll see like some of the Raichu. I sent the base and the full art. It was really just because I was going for the sequential set. If all 3 of these got sequential 10s, I would have framed them and put them in a little set for myself. That's kind of why I went for those. But yeah. So that was my method to my madness. This is the smartest way to submit your cards to PSA because you can turn them over quicker. You can also just send everything bulk and just wait for the upcharge. But it is hit or miss, again, on when they're going to come back. It's templated 3 months. Now I've been getting my bulk subs back pretty quickly. So obviously, like you can see, the main thing that I like to attack is bigger cards, right? The stuff that I made the most money on was like this Magikarp, this Alakazam Mega. I remember I spent $75 on it. I'm an Alakazam fan, so I knew that this card was low pop in a 10. It was just the cleanest copy that I had seen in probably 2 years, so I picked it up. I'm an Alakazam fan. If it got a 9, I wouldn't have minded keeping it. One of the other big ones was this Kyogre. I bought a CGC 8.5 from the Team Aqua's Kyogre EX. And again, I could show you guys this on PSA here. Let's see. Here is my regular. As long as it's not showing, you can see exactly, like, this is stuff that I'm not, like, this is all real. But it was this Kyogre card. It was a CGC 8.5. It had some whitening on the back, but I figured, like here in the top left, you can see. I took the chance on it because I thought if it gets a 9, it's worth like $2,000, and in an 8, it was like I think $850, and then I ended up selling it for $950. It just so happens the comps had went up like right when I was about to sell it, so I ended up selling it for $950. It's just. This was a really good play because if you see what I actually bought, it doesn't show exactly what I bought it for. I bought this for $400. The store had it stickered for $400. So all I did was I just looked up the PSA 8 price and saw that it was about $800 in PSA 8. And I was like, screw it, I'm gonna take the chance. Specifically, this was a CGC blue label, the old label for CGC. They tend to grade a little bit harder. So I back then at least. So I took the chance. I had a feeling it was probably going to get an 8, but if it got a 9, I was going to PC it. These other 2 were in my PC as well. And obviously, you're looking at a pretty big come up on both of these for $75 raw, and then this Magikarp I paid $456, so it was about $500 with tax. I did get a pretty big upcharge. I think I paid like $200 just alone to get this card graded. So, but it's still all in all is about like a $1,700 to $1,800 card profit. So, all in all, this regular submission was a W, and pretty much, and if I sold all 3 of these cards, you can see here, this is pretty much like making a huge chunk of the initial spent, right? Even after the grading fees. So that's why I like to tier it, because everything here pretty much made up for the back. I mean, pretty much guaranteed would make up for the backlog and the total spent. and then the bulk sub is kind of just the gravy on top. That's kind of how I sectioned it off to make it a little bit easier to digest. Now, this shop that specifically I went to had a lot of tag teams, right? They had, we'll take a look at here back at PSA, and we'll look at my orders, and I'll show you the value max sub here. So they had a lot of tag teams, and like I like to take advantage of that. So this, I think I paid like around 300 raw for this card, but it was super clean. So I took the chance. And like I said, I went for the sequential. Like, when you're getting shown a tag team that has a back like this when there's nothing there, and then, you know, like the centering, I've said this before in a past video, but the silver border is the thing you have to worry about. That black line means nothing. And they ended up having 2 of them, and I honestly could have bought both, but I was trying to stay around $5,000, and that's the way it went. This one, another example of a very, very clean back. Like, the back is, like, perfect on this Venusaur and Celebi. And it shows like a little bit of whitening there, but I don't think it's... I don't have the card anymore, unfortunately. I can't look at it. But this one was a little off-center, if you could see here. It's a little bit thinner on the right side than it is on the left side. And that's ultimately what took it down to a 9 here. But the back was perfect. And if you're getting shown these tag teams and, like, I guess you would call them mid-era now. Yeah, they're getting older. That's when, you know, you're kind of just taking the chance on it. I took the same chance. It was the exact same problem with this one. It was just the right side was thicker than the left. Here on this Snorlax. The back, again, was perfect. I wasn't worried about the backs at all. But it ended up getting a 9 ultimately. But luckily, with tag teams and some of this older stuff, like Sun and Moon era, XY era, the raw card cost is more like the PSA 8 value. The 9 is actually making money. So I actually broke even with the Snorlax. I can't show the exact numbers, but I ended up selling this for $185, and I paid $78, I believe, in total, and then I paid like $65 to grade it. So I ended up like just breaking even, maybe a couple bucks over here. So it was actually a really solid play, because if this did get a 10, it's like $1,000. So you're kind of, there's no other place in really the world or any space where you can risk X amount of dollars. So let's just say we're risking, you know, $150, let's say all in, right? To grade it for 70, and we'll say 140. We're risking 140. Again, if you're confident that it's going to get an 8, you're going to always have the 8 price, which is still over $100 to sell it, right? But then the 9 is, you know, a slight profit or a break, you know, a little bit more. And then the 10 is where you get that real payday. So you're really not risking too much. At worst, you're losing the grading fee. And this goes the same thing for like 9s on like some of these more modern cards. Like this, for example. The 9 is about the same price as the raw card in this Rayquaza VMAX from Evolving Skies. But when you get down to it, the 9, you're pretty much only losing the grading fee if you do get a 9. So there's not really a loss. So even if you're spending, yeah, okay, it's $70. But how many times would you have to lose for it to then be not worth getting the 10? Because the 10 is $1,500 right now. Again, I bought this for like about $600. So if I keep getting 9s and losing $70 every time I do it, eventually you get 110 and it deletes all that losses. You would have to lose like, if you graded like 6 of them, you would have to get 9s on all 6. And then if you get 6 of them and then you got 110 and 5 9s, you're probably gonna break even right there. I'm doing public math there, but you see the concept that I'm trying to get at is that you're risking a minimal amount to get a big payoff. Whereas in like, if you're gonna do like a sports parlay on like FanDuel, you're gonna be risking, you know, say it's maybe less than that, $10 to make 1,000, and the likelihood of that happening is very, very, very low. That's why the odds increase so high in parlays. So when you're talking about something that you can actually control and look at with your own eyes and hold in your hands and use some type of skill, because there is some skill involved with this. Yes, there's a little bit of luck, but there is some skill involved in this, and you can get good at it. I think I've proven that. Like my submissions are consistently very, very solid. So that's something that I'm trying to make the point that it is a lot easier and a lot less risk involved than a lot of people think. So overall, we're back here. Again, I just kind of showed you a glimpse of the regular and the value max submission. And now we're talking about like, you know, a good amount here. And again, I spent a total of $5,300 on that weekend. Like I said, it was just under. The total value of the cards ended up being $15,290. Obviously, I subtracted the fees, so I just multiplied it by 0.85. Now, I will say the Magikarp and Wailord I did keep, but if something like that were to sell, I would sell it for 90% minimum. I will in a future video talk about how you can sell cards a lot more efficiently. It's just kind of a niche topic that not everyone is selling as much or turning over as many cards as I am, but that is something to look forward to in the future. But if for general purposes, like if you're just grading like one Giratina V-Star from Crown Zenith, you can list this up on eBay and pretty much guarantee that you're going to get $340 in your PayPal or your bank account after the eBay fees and everything. So 85% is the safe calculation. Again, it's actually going to be a little bit more than this, but that's just how it goes. And then I have on top of that minus the $2,000 for the grading fee. So this was $2,000 to grade all 48 of these cards that I bought. Now the big thing is right, we generated 15,000 in revenue, and then after fees we're making 13,000. So we have to pay ourselves back. The total profit for the entire thing was about $6,000, $5,917.50. That's again just ballpark. I haven't sold every single card. I've sold probably 90% of them. I did keep these two for the PC, and I did keep the Raichu and the Rayquaza. I kept all these. And this Bubble Mew is a good example too of like something that exploded after the fact. I actually made money on this, even though it got a 9. But this I could have sold this for more now. It goes for about 600 and a 9 at this present day. I'm filming this on August 26th. So like that's something that you can take into account. And just to reiterate, not every single card in this submission was a win, right? I mean, like I missed on a lot of these. Like this full art Raichu was a pretty big loss here. Why I even sent it value max, I was trying to get the sequential, like I said, but that was a pretty big loss. Like this Celebi and Snorlax was pretty solid risk anyways, and I did that. I remember looking at it, I was like, it's really close, whatever. Actually, this was an 8, but I ended up like pretty much breaking even. I think I lost a little bit on the Venusaur and made like $10 on the Snorlax, so it ended up evening out. So it was a calculated risk that I took, because if one of them got a 10, it would have been a big pay, right? And the same thing with this Umbreon. I thought that this thing, Umbreon and Darkrai, I thought it would get a 9. It ended up getting the 8. I had graded one previously, like a couple weeks prior to that. So I was familiar with the card, and I know it's hard to grade. But I knew in a 10 it was worth $2,000. I knew in a 9 I would still make money, because I think I paid like $115 for it was like $120 or $115 for the card. I ended up selling it for $115 as well in the 8. So yeah, I lost the grading fee and I lost the eBay fees. It wasn't the best play, and not every single one was a win, but you could see when you win on some of the bigger ones and the ones that you're taking, I mean, what is this, like 50%? I mean, I had a really good 10 rate on some of the bulk cards, but that's because I was more critical of them, and you come across them more often, right? So it can go two ways, that you're more lenient with the bulk cards because you don't care as much about them and you're not risking as much money. But for me, in this case where I was, like, there were so many cards in this shop that some of these ones that were, you don't see every day, like this Raichu and Alolan Raichu tag team, or the Magikarp and Wailord tag team, which is exploding right now, by the way, or, like this Alakazam, like as an Alakazam, you just don't see those cards every day, so you're kind of like convincing yourself that you want to make sure that those are good. Obviously, most of them were, in my case. But it was the same thing kind of for this Umbreon. This Bubble Mew, I knew it was kind of off-center. I wanted to try it. I still don't have a Bubble Mew I literally have never graded a Bubble Mew in a 10, and I was trying to get one for myself. So that's what I was attacking that, trying to get that for myself. Same thing with some of these tag teams. Like, you just don't see these every day. I tried to get a sequential pair on the Sylveon GX and the other GX from Hidden Fates. I thought it would be a cool, like, little PC thing. But it doesn't always work out that way. And even after, you don't have a ton of 10s, it doesn't require you to get every single thing at 10. It just requires you to, research the prices of what you think it's going to get, right? You have to take those data points and then execute in that way. So I hope this helps. Here, I'm going to show you exactly how you can keep track of it and how you can build out your own tracker here. This is a snippet from my own, like, overall grading profit tracker. I can't show because it has a lot of personal information on it. But here is some real-time, like, ones that are related to this. So the ones in bold are ones that I kept, that I'm hanging on to. But here I have the price that I paid here in this far left column. This is the price with tax. I just tack on 9% just generally that's what it is. Here is the grading fee, and then you can see I got upcharged massively on the Magikarp and Wailord. So like obviously this was all in one submission. I just took whatever the submission was divided by X number of cards, right? And then here is the value at the time that I got the card or I'm ready to sell it, right? So obviously I'm calculating, you know, the potential value of these two cards as they are, and I don't plan on selling them at the moment, but they go up or down, and that's fine. I still calculate it as profit. Oops. And then, but then here is this sell, this last one is this price over here multiplied by 0.855. So that's the eBay fee here. And then this sell here is the profit sell, and you just take the overall price you paid with tax and the grading fee, right? Minus what you actually get paid out from the eBay fee. And that's your total here. And then you could just have like a little profit sell here that will just take the sum of every single one that you made. Boom. Right. So like you can see here, I lost $126 on the Darkrai. Because I actually sold it for $100. So I misspoke earlier. And then like I said, this Raichu was a big L. But if I sent this bulk like I should have, it would have been a significantly, like I would have lost like 20-30 bucks. Right. So that's kind of the trade-off that you go with. But I hope this helps. So overall, again, this is the kind of stuff that I was going for. Nothing crazy on most fronts, and then, you know, it just depending on your budget, you can attack that one big card, or you can go maybe 3 smaller mid-tier cards, or you can go like 20, $20 cards or something like that, depending on your budget. So this is kind of the stuff that I went for. I hope it gives you an idea of what to look for when you're out there, but it's hard to pass up the ones that you don't see every day, especially in mint condition for a fair price, like the tag teams, the alt art tag teams, XY stuff. But again, even sometimes take a look at the slabs. The prices change daily nowadays, and you might get a good deal. No sense haggling with them. I always pay the price that the store is asking for, because I'm taking the risk. You know what I mean? So I get to look at the card and inspect it how I see fit. And that's just the way that it goes. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that gave you a little bit of a good insight on what I was doing on that weekend of 4th of July this year, and how it really paid off for me. So I took that $5,000 initial investment and I turned it into $15,000 in value. Now I got it. I'm probably going to get some comments down there. Yes, I made $6,000 in profit. Whatever, get a life. If you want to do it, you can do it. But if you have any questions, please drop them down below in the comments, or join my Discord. The link will be in the description. We have a bunch of people in there that are very helpful when it comes to finding grading plays, or if you're questionable about a card, you can send some pictures, and we have a bunch of people, including myself, that will respond and get you set on the right path, or help you out if you have more personal or you need some like one-on-one attention. So I appreciate it, and I will see y'all in the next one.
I've been up doing minutes.